Hello and welcome back to this course. In this session, we are going to discuss about the loop control structures. So let's start. As you know, almost always if something is worth doing, it's worth doing more than once. You can probably think of several examples of this from real life, such as eating a good dinner, watching movies, an office job. So these kind of tasks are done repeatedly. Programming is the same. We frequently need to perform an action over and over, often with variation in the details each time. The program that we have developed so far used either a sequential or a decision control instruction. So in the sequential statement, the instructions were carried out in a fixed order, while in decision control an appropriate set of instructions were executed depending upon the outcome of the condition or logic being tested. The versatility of the computer lies in its ability to perform a set of instructions repeatedly. Now this involves repeating some portion of the program either a specified number of times or until a particular condition is being satisfied. The repetitive operation is done through a loop control instructions, and there are three methods or way by which we can repeat a part of program. They are using a for statement, using a while statement, and using a do while statement. So we'll be discussing all of them one by one. So let's start with for loop. A for loop is a repetition control structure which allows us to write a loop that is executed a specific number of times. The loop enables us to perform n number of steps together in one line. Here's the syntax for loop. That means a keyword for is used, and within brackets there are initialization expression, test expression, update expression, and after the curly brackets the statements that will be the body of the for loop, which will be executed depending upon this test expression. Okay, so let's discuss what are these components. Initialization expression. Now this expression used to initialize or define the starting value for the loop counter. That means from where the loop will start. Next is test expression. Now this expression used to test the loop counter to determine whether its value is reached the desired number of repetition. That means if I have defined a value n, then we have to test whether the loop counter value is reached to n number of repetition or not. So if the condition evaluates to true, then the body of the loop will be executed. Next is update expression. Now this expression updates the value of loop counter each time the body of the loop has been executed by incrementing or decrementing the loop variable by some value. That means whenever this body of the loop will be executed, then the update expression is performed, and update can be increment or decrement in the loop variable. Let's understand with the help of an example. So this is an example that is calculation of simple interest for three sets of P, N and R. Okay. If you remember, we have written this program for calculating the simple interest value in the very first session. So here we are going to perform this simple interest multiple times. So if you see within main function, we have defined the same variables. There is one extra variable called as count. Now within for loop, this count is equal to 1. Now this is the initialization value, that is starting value of count, that it will start from 1 and it will go to the maximum 3. That means the count will be compared to 3, and if it is less than or equal to 3, then this body will be executed. Okay, so in the body of the loop we have printed the message to enter the value from P, N and R from the user side, and we have just read those value and stored in the required variable. Next we have calculated the simple interest by the given formula and printed the final result. Okay, so once this body of the loop will be executed, this will comes to this update expression. That means count is equal to count plus 1. So starting value was 1, now it will become 2, and again this will be tested whether this 2 is less than or equal to 3 or not. So if it is true, then again this body will be executed, and again after the execution it will increment to 3. So 3 is again equal to 3, so it will again execute the same body of the loop and again go to count variable. So when incrementing this count again, it will become 4, and this conditions just returns false. 4 is not less than or equal to 3. So as soon as this test condition returns false, this body of the loop will be exited. Okay, you can see the same scenario by this flow diagram. So here the code start, it is the value of count 1, then it is tested that is count is less than equal to 3 or not. If it is yes, then input is taken from the user and simple interest is calculated, and finally the result is printed. and it again came back to count equal to count plus 1. That is the update expression. So again testing, and when this condition returns false, that means no, it will stop. Okay, so we'll write this code in our code block session. For now, let's see the various forms of for loop. If we do not add parameter to the for loop and leave every expression blank with semicolon, then for loop will become infinite loop and will keep on executing for an infinite number of times. So as you can see, for, and we have not added any expression, whether initialization, test or update. So I have added just 3 semicolon, and if you execute this loop and write anything within the body, that will be executed infinite number of times. Okay, let us now write down the program to print numbers from 1 to 10 in different ways by using for loop. And the for loop can be written in any of these mentioned forms, and the output results will be same for each case. Okay, as you can see that the initialization, testing and incrementation of loop counter is done in the for statement itself. Instead of I equal to I plus 1, we can use I plus plus, okay, or I plus equal to 1. Since there is only one statement in the body of the for loop, the pair of braces has been dropped, okay, because single statement can execute without the curly brackets, because the default scope of the for is immediately the next statement. Next, you can see the variable has been defined, the initialization expression and the test expression. So the incrementation is done within the body of the loop. Okay. In spite of this, the semicolon after the condition is necessary. That means if I'm writing this incrementation operation within the body, then I have to add a semicolon here. Okay. Because this is in the syntax itself. Next, here the initialization is done in the declaration statement itself, but still the semicolon before the condition is necessary due to the same reason. Okay, that means if I have declared the initialization expression before the for loop, even then I have to add a semicolon for initialization expression. Next, here neither the initialization nor the incrementation is done in the for statement. Okay, but still the 2 semicolons are necessary. One is for the initialization and other one is for incrementation or update expression. In this form of for loop, you will see the comparison as well as incrementation is done through the single statement like I plus plus less than 10. So since the plus plus operator comes after I, firstly comparison is done followed by incrementation. Okay, note that it is necessary to initialize I to 0. And at last, in this form of loop, both the comparison and the incrementation is done through the same statement, that is plus plus I less than equal to 10. Now since plus plus precedes I, so firstly the incrementation is done and then comparison will be done. So these are some various forms of loop. That means for loop can be written in any of these manners and all of them are valid and you will get the same result. Okay. Now let's come back to the code block window. So you can just go to file, create a new file as we are doing for every session. So empty file has been created. Now you can save this file at the desired location. Okay, so I'm creating a new folder in the C project, which is for underscore loop, the name given to that folder. Okay, now open this folder and save the .c file here. So you can write the same name for the file and click on save. Okay, so now let's try to write the same code for calculating the simple interest 3 times. Okay, so if you want, you can add comments like calculation of simple interest for 3 sets of values of P, N and R. Okay, so let's start by writing hash include standard input output dot h. Start the main function by writing void main. Define the required variable, that is int p comma n count. Next, the float data type for rate of interest and simple interest. Now you can write the for loop. So for count equal to 1 semicolon, count less than equal to 3 semicolon and count plus plus. Okay, so now again create the curly braces, again start the curly brackets and write the body of the loop. So printf, the message to be printed, that is enter the value of P, N and R. Okay, add the semicolon. Now we have to read the values. So again scanf, within double quotes write the format specifier, that is for %d, that is integer data type for P and N, and %f, that is float for rate of interest, that is R. So you can write ampersand p comma ampersand n comma ampersand r. Okay, so I have read the value of p and r and save in the required variable. Now just calculate the simple interest by the formula, that is p multiplied by n multiplied by r divided by 100. Okay, and finally printf simple interest is equal to rs specifier for the float data type and /n for printing the data in new line. Now I am assigning the value of si. Okay, we are done with the code. Okay, now just click on this build icon and you will see the build finished with 0 errors and 0 warning. So just click on run. Okay, so you will get the message for entering the values of p and r. Okay, so I'm writing the value 1500 p 8.5. I have got the value of simple interest, that is rupees 382.50. Now as you see, after printing the simple interest, it is again asking the value for p and r. Okay, that means the body of the loop has been executed once. Okay, now again enter the value, something different. So 1200, 2 and 6.8. You will see it again printed the simple interest. Okay, and again asking the values for p and r. So let's try one more time. 101 8.4. Now you see, after entering the values for the third time, the simple interest has been printed and the code has been terminated. Okay, so this for loop has executed 3 times. That is the desired value of loop variable that we have assigned and tested, and the starting value is 1. So 1 2 3, the code executed 3 times. So I hope the for loop is clear. If you have any doubt, feel free to reach us. See you in the next